Good morning, my Real News Midday TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and productive day. And in the news this morning, man charged with the murder of UTech student Anissa Dilworth further remanded. Steps are to be taken to seek to get the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to use a voluntary bill of indictment to move the murder case against the Jamar Grant, the in-drive driver, charged for the death of University of Technology student Anissa Dilworth from the St. Catherine Parish Court to the Home Circuit Court. Dilworth's skeletal remains were discovered on a beach in Helsher, Portmore, St. Catherine, following her disappearance on May 7. The case against the Grant was called up in court on Friday. During the proceedings, the clerk of court suggested to the presiding judge that the case be committed directly to the Home Circuit Court via a voluntary bill of indictment. If approved by the Office of the DPP, the case is expected to be transferred to the Home Circuit Court on the next mentioned date, set for September 26. It was revealed during the hearing that the case file remains incomplete, with documents from communication service providers still outstanding. The prosecution indicated that these documents are critical to finalizing the Crown's case. Meanwhile, in keeping with the previous promise, Grant gave investigators access to his iPhone using facial recognition. Personnel from the police's communication, forensic and the cybercrime division were present during the process, which was also observed by Grant's attorney and the clerk of courts. It was revealed in court that there is information on the device that can assist the investigation. Grant was arrested in connection with Dilworth's disappearance and the subsequent death. The police had previously obtained a production order for access to his phone, which is believed to contain key evidence. He is being represented by attorney at law Davian Vassell, while attorney at law Kemar Robinson is watching the proceedings on behalf of Dilworth's family. Woman charged for stabbing man inside police station in Old Harbor Bay again remanded. Abigail Morgan, the St. Catherine woman charged with stabbing a man inside a police station while he was filing a report against her, was again remanded when she appeared in the parish court on Friday. Morgan, who is charged with wounding with intent, is a fish vendor from Old Harbor Bay, St. Catherine. When she appeared before acting senior parish court judge Janelle Nelson Gale, it was revealed that the medical certificate is still outstanding. Attorney at law Richard Lynch told the court that the complainant is desirous of discontinuing the matter. The judge stated that if the medical report indicates there is no serious injury and this is coupled with the complainant's decision, then bail will be considered on July 18. Allegations are that on April 17, the complainant and the accused had a dispute while at the Old Harbor Bay fishing beach, which escalated into a physical attack. The complainant was filing a report at the Old Harbor Bay police station when he was attacked and stabbed by the accused in the presence of the police. Morgan was subsequently arrested and charged with wounding with intent. St. Catherine man remanded for alleged abduction and rape of woman. A man accused of abducting a woman from St. Mary and taking her to St. Catherine, where she was allegedly raped, was remanded in the parish court on Friday. The matter is scheduled to return to court on July 11. Allegations are that around 7:50 a.m. on June 6, the 21-year-old complainant was standing along a roadway in Highgate, St. Mary, when the accused exited a motor car and forced her into the vehicle. She was reportedly taken to the Banbury district in Linstead, St. Catherine, where the accused allegedly sexually assaulted her. The matter was reported to the police's Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse. The accused was arrested and subsequently charged with abduction and rape. No motive yet for double murder at a candlelight vigil. The police are trying to establish a motive for Thursday night's deadly attack at a candlelight vigil in Dunkeld District, Essex, on the border of St. Mary and St. Catherine. 2 people were killed when men said to be traveling on motorcycles opened a fire at a patrons at the night being held for Dejanae Graham, the 21-year-old teacher, who was fatally shot by her policeman boyfriend during a domestic dispute in St. Mary on June 25. The deceased have been identified as 31-year-old Shaquille Harris, also known as Nick or Big Red, an ex-member of the Jamaica Defense Force, and the 22-year-old Tiffany Dose, also known as Nikki, both of St. Catherine addresses. Superintendent Richard Hilton, head of the Major Investigations Division, told the news that his team of investigators have been dispatched to St. Mary to take charge of the investigation. Superintendent Hilton added that the police have no evidence that the victims are related to the police constable who remains under police guard in hospital. About 10:30 p.m., Mr. Harris and Miss Dawes were at the vigil when explosions were heard. Both victims received bullet wounds and were pronounced dead at hospital. Mr. Harris, who was dishonorably discharged from the military, is believed to have been the target of the attack. Ms. Dawes' mother, Althea Dawkins, says her daughter was visiting the community and had no connection to the other victim. She said her daughter was a final-year university student. In the meantime, Ms. Graham's 57-year-old cousin was found unresponsive on his veranda in Essex on Friday morning, hours after attending her night. He was pronounced dead at hospital. Jamaica expected to be hit by U.S. tax on remittances. Effective December 31 this year, Jamaicans in the United States sending money to their relatives back home will have to pay a 1% excise tax on such transactions. The tax is set out in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed by the U.S. Congress, expected to be signed by President Donald Trump on Friday. By charging senders the 1%, the bill raises the cost of remittances. This could lead some migrants to send less money or send money less frequently, negatively affecting recipients' spending power in countries like Jamaica. Jamaica is expected to experience a direct economic downturn from the new U.S. remittance tax as it represents a transfer of resources to the U.S. Treasury. The tax is projected to raise roughly $10 billion in revenue across all countries. Jamaica currently receives roughly $3.3 to $3.5 billion in remittances annually, the majority of which comes from Jamaicans in the United States. Remittances currently account for 17 to 20% of the country's gross domestic product. The Bank of Jamaica has already flagged U.S. policy changes on remittances as a downside risk to Jamaica's economic outlook. Therefore, any reduction in remittance inflows could constrain household consumption, education and healthcare spending, as well as small business support. In the original version of the bill passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, the tax on remittance was set at 5%, but the U.S. Senate reduced it to 1%. The new tax will be imposed on remittances sent as cash, money orders, cashier's checks, and similar such instruments. Funds sent by debit or credit cards or bank wire transfers will not attract the new tax. According to the provisions of the bill, the new tax will be limited mainly to green card holders or permanent residents and visa holders. Citizens sending money to relatives in Jamaica will not be subject to the new tax. PNPs Jamaica Time Tour ignites momentum in St. Mary. The People's National Party's Jamaica Time island-wide road tour brought out crowds and energy among residents in St. Mary on Friday, with stops in Anota Bay, Porta Maria, and Stewart Town. Many residents came out lining the streets, waving flags and chanting for change. The party, in a release, said the atmosphere was charged with excitement and determination that sent a powerful signal that St. Mary is ready for a clean sweep in the next general elections. Party President and Opposition Leader Mark Golding, in speaking to the people, cited the urgency of change and the people's mission to deliver real opportunities for all Jamaicans. St. Mary is sending a message, and it is loud and clear. The people are fed up with broken promises and the poor representation. They want leaders who care, who serve, and who deliver. The PNP is ready to be that change, said Golding.
We are committed to bringing back affordable housing as part of the plan for the development of the country. 50,000 affordable housing units we plan to bring. And we're going to use government land that is not suitable for agriculture and make that available to the housing agencies of Jamaica, the NHT and others, so that they can build houses on them for people that people can afford. And we're not going to charge the value of the land in the price of the house. So when you buy the house, you'll immediately be wealthier than you were the day before you bought it. And comrades, we have some plans to help people to finance the house. For example, we have the rent-to-own scheme, where if you are an informally employed person, you could be a cosmetologist, a barber, hairdresser, you could be a taxi operator, and you don't have a pay slip fortnightly or monthly, and you can't prove your income, and therefore you can't qualify for a mortgage. We have the plan to solve that problem that affects so many Jamaicans. We will allow you to go into possession of the house as a tenant and pay a rent each month equal to what the mortgage would be. And if you can sustain the rent for a reasonable period of time, and we're thinking about 6 months, bam, we will allow you to qualify for the mortgage, have improved the income from the payments of rent, and say, yes, you are no longer a tenant, you're an owner of a house with your own door key.
Each of the party's candidates for St. Mary delivered remarks connecting with the residents and outlining their plans for a brighter future. Omar Newell, the candidate for Central St. Mary, pledged to build on the legacy of outgoing MP Dr. Maurice Guy. Central St. Mary is the only seat in the parish that is currently held by the PNP, and I am committed to honoring that trust. Dr. Guy has laid a strong foundation, and I intend to build on it with a fresh energy, new ideas, and a heart for service, said Newell. Christopher Brown, the PNP candidate for Southeast St. Mary, spoke of decades of neglect and the need for a reset. We've been left behind far too long. It is time to put the people first, bring meaningful development to Southeast St. Mary. That starts with honest leadership and real representation, said Brown. Omar Woodbine, the candidate for Western St. Mary, said the turnout for the party's tour proved that people are ready. What we saw today wasn't just a crowd, it was a movement. West St. Mary is wide awake, and we're ready to walk into a new future with the PNP leading the way, said Woodbine. As the tour moved on to St. Anne and Trelawney, the momentum continued to build, with the party stating in its release that one thing is certain: St. Mary is standing strong and the people are ready. Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.